All right, what's going on, everybody? So we had UFC 312 this weekend. Dricus du Plessis just put on a masterclass performance against Sean Strickland. As we know, Sean Strickland probably has the best strike defense in the UFC, and Dricus just straight up picked him apart on the feet. Shows the levels that Dricus is at, to be honest. And I know I could have made this Who's Next video for Dricus, but if we're being honest, it seems pretty obvious. It seems like Chimaev is next. It seems like there is no other option unless Dricus wants to move up already to go face Alex Pereira. So I'm going to be giving you guys 3 different names that could be next for Sean Strickland because he could be in a kind of a limbo spot in the rankings right now. Real quick, before I get into the video, 95% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you like UFC, influencer boxing, or boxing content, I post 2 to 4 times a week on this channel at least. So make sure you subscribe. I appreciate you. I'm going to be putting this in order to least likely to most likely, just so you guys know. So the first person that I think this isn't the most likely option, but this could be a great fight, is Caio Borrello, a part of the Fighting Nerds. So yeah, he is one of the most overall balanced fighters in the UFC. And the only reason why this fight wouldn't really make sense is because Strickland's coming off a loss. And Borrello is coming off like 6 wins in a row. He's on a very dominant run. Like I said, he's one of the most balanced fighters in the UFC. He has very nasty straight punches. He has flying knees in his bag, and he has elite grappling in his bag. He's really a problem for anybody in the division, and it wouldn't be any different for Strickland. So it would be a bit of a risk if you want some sort of win in the column. But when you're on top of these rankings, I don't think you make those type of decisions, you know what I mean? And I'm a fan of Strickland, so I hate to say this, but the UFC might be done with him as a real contender, and they may want him to put over somebody like Borrello in a matchup like that. And I just think it would be a very entertaining matchup on the feet. Obviously, Strickland has elite striking defense, even though Dricus did exploit it. Borrello has very crafty striking because he's so long at the division. But one thing you could say about Borrello is he really hasn't faced the top of the division yet. He had a very good win against Paul Craig and Jared Cannonier, which were dominant wins, and all of his wins recently have been dominant. So I feel like he deserves the top of the division, and I feel like Strickland could be a great start to that. I think this will be a great matchup, for sure. It's just, if Strickland would want to take this fight after a loss, it's really just on him. I think this would be a great matchup, but it probably is the least likely. I have 2 other better options for y'all. All right, so the next fighter that I think could be next for Strickland, and I think this is probably my favorite idea just because we haven't seen it yet. I'll get to that in a second, but that is Robert Whittaker. Now, as we know, Bobby Nux is very nasty at striking. He's coming off a loss, so it would make more sense. He come off a loss with Chimaev, one of the most nasty injuries to the jaw that I've ever seen in my life, by the way. But as we know, Robert Whittaker has elite movement, he has elite footwork, and he has elite timing, especially with that left hook. But that's what makes him so unpredictable. He uses like a karate blitz type style. I know he doesn't kick as much as a karate style, but he uses the blitzes and uses his knucks to his advantage. And his movement is just so unpredictable. Like, you really just don't know what's coming, and that left hook comes out of nowhere. He will throw it off a front kick, he will throw it off a straight right hand, and it'll be the hardest punch that you take the entire night. So I just feel like this matchup would be insane. I feel like that Strickland's stationary Philly show would be very interesting to see against Robert Whittaker's very unpredictable blitz heavy movement style. I think it would be a great stand-up matchup. We might even see Strickland like grapple for once in that fight because I feel like the movement might be a bit overwhelming for him. I know he has elite striking defense, but when they're moving like that, it is always tough. Even Dricus had unpredictable movement, and we saw what happened, obviously. Robert Whittaker is a shorter middleweight, so I do see him struggling with Strickland's jab a bit. But like I said, he's very calculated with his blitzes, so he might be able to slip past one. And a left hook off the jab would be very lethal. But like I said, Strickland rolls with shots. I just think this would be a great fight. Let me know if you guys agree down below. I just think this would be a great striking matchup. That's the main reason why I want to see this fight. And they're both coming off losses. They both could definitely need a win. So yeah, I definitely would want to see this personally. This is what I want to be next for Strickland, but I do think there is one other thing that is more likely to be next. Now, what I think is the most likely option for Sean Strickland in his next fight is the Israel Adesanya rematch. Now, as we know, Israel Adesanya has lost 4 of his last 5 fights, and the Strickland loss is probably the one that hurts the most if I were to guess for him. That was probably one of the craziest, probably the craziest upset win that I've personally seen in the UFC. Let me know if you guys agree in the comments down below. Strickland cracked him with a nasty straight right hand in the very first round and just outclassed him the entire fight. Like I said, Strickland has elite striking defense, and Izzy's counter-striking was just not doing the trick against Strickland. He was working that jab, and Izzy's timing just hasn't been on the same. He's been fast, he's been sharp, but I feel like his defense has gone down the hill quite a bit. But Israel Adesanya's boxing defense really has been a problem for a minute now. Like, that's the reason why he got rocked in the Kevin Gastelum fight. That's why he got rocked by Robert Whittaker in their fight also, even though he got a great comeback win in that fight. I think that it's a bad matchup for Israel Adesanya, but I think the fight makes sense. Israel Adesanya has to be more aggressive in this fight. I don't think he could be the counterpuncher in this. He needs to put the pressure on, and he has to be more crafty than usual. I know he's probably one of the more crafty vets in UFC history, but it's always on counterpunching like aspects. I would think he would have to pressure Strickland. We've seen what happens when Strickland gets pressured a good amount by Dricus. He starts to like lose what to do because he really, like, they call him a jab 1-2 merchant, but that really is like his main basis. So if he's not applying the pressure, he does struggle. So Israel Adesanya can't be in the back foot against Strickland. If he wants to win the rematch, and if he really wants to do this, he would have to be on the front foot. Now, I'm not really sure how bad Israel Adesanya wants to get back to the title. I don't know how badly Israel Adesanya wants to even face Strickland again. I don't really know what he wants to do next, but I do think it makes sense. They're both coming off losses. The build-up was a big deal, and like I said, it was an upset at the time. So a lot of people think that he can maybe beat Strickland. I'm not sure personally, just because of the matchup. I know Strickland doesn't use his grappling, but it's very similar to a Mavov. Obviously, a Mavov is very different because he's very powerful and a lot more aggressive than Strickland. But the threat of the takedown, lowering the hands of Adesanya, is the reason why he got caught by a Mavov. And I'm not sure why he dropped his hands against Strickland for that 1-2. But he does tend to do that a lot, and I'm not going to lie, I don't think it's a great matchup for him, but if he were to get back against Strickland, I think that might somewhat put him back in the conversation again, maybe, but it's really how bad Israel Adesanya wants to get back in the conversation. It's really up to him. So yeah, if we're getting out-jabbed by smaller middleweights like Kevin Gastelum and Robert Whittaker, facing Strickland is a real problem because he probably has the best jab in all of UFC, so that's what is the problem with Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland, but I just see this fight happening again. I just think it's the most likely one. Like I said, Strickland versus Whittaker is probably my favorite option, but I feel like Adesanya wants to get back, and the UFC probably wants him to get back, I believe. I'm not even sure. So yeah, man, those are the fighters that I think could be next for Strickland. Let me know if you guys agree in the comments down below. And once again, if you're into MMA, influencer boxing, or boxing content, I post 3 to 4 times on this channel at least, so make sure you subscribe if you're into that. Let me know what your favorite matchup would be out of the ones I picked. Let me know if there's any names that I forgot also down below. I thought about adding in Marvin Vettori just because the build-up of the fight would be ridiculous, but nah, I don't really see that happening. But as like a build-up matchup, that would be elite. You can't even lie, right? But at the same time, he said some words he probably shouldn't have recently on Twitter. So I don't know where his state is with the UFC, but at the same time, UFC forgave Bryce Mitchell for what he said. So probably nothing's going to happen because it's free speech. But these UFC fighters have been wilding recently, bro. Especially Paulo Costa. I don't know if you guys saw, but Paulo Costa like got mad that Bryce Mitchell took back his comments. I think Paulo Costa is just the illest Twitter troll of all time. Who taught this motherfucker English, bro? It was not a good idea. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to me up like usual. God bless every single one of you. And peace out. I'm a sin, huh? I'm a sin, huh? I'm a sin, huh? I'm a sin, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Lord, forgive me for what I'ma do. You can't even please her, I gotta go prove. I'm finna go see her, I'm making a move. Finna go deeper, she feeling the groove, huh? Yeah. Very funny, cause the boys she picking are really astute. The bitches be basic, it really ain't news. People are soft and they finna get true. Worry about me and I steady improve. She low could be sleeping, I'm really that dude. Got this man geeking and give me a boost. Rubber, I'm taking, I'm rapping like Zeus. If he come pull up, he getting a 2. Hope he don't funnel me losing a 2. Hope he don't rubble me, need a masseuse. Shout out to Jared, he finna get choose.